Hi everyone, it's Rachel here. Kat and I thought it would be nice if I just made a short video to wrap up the session from yesterday since I experienced an unexpected power outage which took out my internet. So I wanted to address two things in this video. The first of which is this phrase that I was using about our ability to control our thoughts, feelings, and sensations in our body. And it's a bit of a condensing or even a misnomer in the condensing, this idea that we can control our thoughts, feelings, and sensations. And by saying that, that doesn't mean, again, as I was referencing yesterday, it doesn't mean we can start and stop like a machine, which is the way I think many of us think about it in terms of control. It's more about control in terms of self-regulation, what we do with our feelings, our emotions, and our sensations, how we decide to behave as a result of what we're thinking, as a result of what we're feeling, as a result of what we're sensing in our body. So we really can control the way we react to them, and we can, to some extent, control how they grow and expand within our body. What we are talking about is mindfulness and self-awareness. And I'm going to just cut right now to the graphic. This graphic is showing the response cycle to position disruption, and it's specifically framed around a white person experiencing position disruption of their whiteness. So they're experiencing white fragility. A reminder, white fragility is the state in which even a minimum amount of racial stress becomes intolerable and triggers or activates a range of defensive movements. A white person experiences racial stress. This can be, we can imagine that this is anyone, any individual who is experiencing a disruption in something that they find to be habitual, or they find to be their norm, what they see as quote unquote normal, or a acculturated habit of how things happen. So there's the thing that happens, which is the spark. It is the trigger, it is the activation. And then there's three things that happen pretty much in rapid succession, and it's very automatic, it's very subconscious. And those things are a body response, which is known as a somatic response. If you go back to those acts, that little play we made in our imagined experience, act 1, 2, and 3, it's where did you feel it in your body? Then you have the emotional response, which is how you feel about it, right? And then there's a mental response that says, oh, I've rationalized. And then a behavior occurs as a result. This is all happening in rapid succession, but that behavior is an observable act. We are in control. We are in control of our habits, not the reverse. Our habits, the way we behave, we are in control of those things. So with acceptance of things like systemic oppression, systemic racism, we can increase our self-awareness. We can understand, oh, I'm activated by this thing, and there are a series of responses that I'm able to understand, observe, and control. We can notice our own racially charged responses, or gender charged responses, or disabled charged responses, ageism charged responses, and begin to interrupt this cycle. So in the example I gave, interrupting white fragility, before it starts to take over our resulting behaviors. I'm going to show another slide right now. And this is where we bring in mindfulness, that idea of mindfulness and some mindfulness practice, and about self-observance. So the first thing to do, as soon as you can realize that that cycle is happening, as soon as you can, is to pause. Even if you're like mid-sentence, just stop. And then to center yourself. And so maybe it's pause and center, and that's that rooting of the feet. And I use feet knowing that not all of us are able to root with our feet, but that's taking a moment, either saying I need to sit down, or I need to, like, literally saying to the people, to the person you're talking to, I need to sit down, or I need to just stand for a moment. And so I'm going to invite you to practice that for a moment, that we placing the feet on the ground, noticing both feet being on the ground, taking a breath first up the length of the body, which is breathing from the bottoms of the feet all the way up to the crown of the head, and on the exhale, breathing from the crown of the head to the bottom of the feet. And maybe breathing to the width of the body. So imagining you could actually breathe the entire width of the body. So breathing the skull, breathing the rib cage, breathing the legs. And then inhale, just allowing the body to naturally come back together. And then breathing the depth of the body, which is the front body expanding forward, the back body expanding back. And exhale. You can also place a number of holds or contained postures on the body. So I'm going to demonstrate a few of those now. The first one is containing or holding the head. And this might not be something you want to do if you're with someone else. It might be something you want to find a way that's like a physical cue to remind yourself you're in their body. So this is the first one you can do. You could do all 5, or you can do just one. Is to hold the head by holding on either side. And then you can breathe into the length. Take another round of those 3 breaths, length, width, and depth. You can also hold the head by placing one hand on the forehead and the other hand at the base of the skull, right where the skull meets the spine. Another would be to hold with left hand on heart space, so that's right in the center of the chest. And the right hand is going to come right below the belly button. And this is really a where is your anatomy? So it's just around the pubis area, but below the belly button. And then the other hold would be somewhere between, and this is the bottom of my sternum, and this is where my belly button is. So right between those 2 areas. And that's the solar plexus, so the heart and the solar plexus. The last hold would be giving yourself a hug, just giving that sense of containment and holding yourself. Okay. So that's really some work that you can be doing this week, is to notice or practice those strategies, is the pausing and the centering. And the centering involving the rooting the feet, the breathing in 3 directions, and maybe some way of containing or holding the body, knowing that you can and have control, and telling yourself you can self-regulate. You can control the way that we react. Eventually, you're working on 2 other skills. One, which is to depersonalize what the activating trigger was, and to listen to what has happened. Either listening with the eyes, taking it in, or listening with the ears. And then to come back and eventually self-observe and asking the questions like, what happened? Why do I think I behaved in that way? To start doing some self-analysis and asking, how was this a fragile act? What set me off? What are those systems of oppression at play? Knowing that those systems of oppression are always at play. It's not if they're at play, it's how.